We have another Queer News Update, ladies and gentlemen. Queer News Update. As you know, I like to cover these stories here on the Cultural Confederacy. And this is at NBC News, story by Matt Levites, last name Lavietes. This came out August 25th. It says here, Michael J. Cohen, one of the most prominent figures in New York's gay nightlife scene, has long reigned as a gatekeeper for young queer men looking to attend exclusive parties and clubs. He now faces a range of sexual misconduct allegations, including accusations that he groped or pressured men to have sex or send nude photos, as well as a claim of sexual assault from members of that same community. This according to 9 people who told NBC News about their experiences over the past decade. But wait till you hear what really happened with these 9 or 10 individuals that have come forward. In 2015, Charles Battersby, then 19, was elated when Cohen offered to introduce him to other gay college students at the weekly parties Cohen hosted at the nightclub Gold Bar, Battersby said. But once Battersby was inside, he said Cohen repeatedly groped his you-know-what, don't want to repeat it here, try to keep this a family show, throughout the evening. Now, Cohen continued to touch Battersby without his consent at future parties, Battersby alleged, but he eventually decided to endure this behavior because he saw it as the price of admission. You get it, folks? They're going to come forward with these sexual allegations. Now, I'm not saying that this guy's an angel here, this Michael J. Cohen. But they're going to come forward with these sexual allegations, but they didn't do anything at the time about this because they wanted to be part of the NYC gay club scene. Anything for the LGBTQ agenda, right? And you should see a picture of this guy, Michael J. Cohen. He's a real beaut. Looks kind of psychotic. Now, in 2017, Stephen Karlstrom, then 21, and working as a model while in college, said that Cohen, who was 40 at the time, promised him a lucrative gig attending parties and then pressured him to perform blank. The job opportunity never transpired, Karlstrom said. But it just felt extremely predatory and manipulative afterwards, Karlstrom said. I definitely wouldn't have done it if he didn't talk me into it. And in 2021, a man who was under 21 at the time said that Cohen poured him 2 or 3 drinks at Motel 23, the popular gay bar Cohen owns in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood, with other investors. Ned said that he soon had trouble keeping his eyes open and his head up, and Cohen led him to a private space in the bar. Kind of reminds me of Ted Bell from the Phil Hendry Show, his private room. Quote, I don't want to, the man said, he told Cohen, but he said Cohen unbuttoned his pants and touched his you-know-what. Swatting Cohen's hands away is the last thing the man remembers before waking up the next morning alone on the curb of a Manhattan street, lying between 2 parked cars, he said. Sounds like sympathy to me. Along with other men interviewed by NBC News, he spoke on the condition of anonymity out of fear that there would be consequences from accusing someone of Cohen's stature. In this case and in others, NBC News withheld some specifics of the allegations to protect anonymity. Now, since July, when an anonymous Instagram account began posting allegations about Motel 23, NBC News had spoken to 45 people who said they knew or interacted with Cohen in New York or Los Angeles over the past 2 decades. Now, the men accused Cohen, 45, of unwanted sexual conduct, and this included 5 who said that when they were in their late teens, early 20s, and yearning for a sense of the gay community, Cohen grabbed their you-know-what at parties he hosted or at Motel 23. 6 of the 9 accusers said that because they were newly out of the closet and didn't know many queer people when these encounters occurred, they presumed that the incidents were normal within the gay community, even though they were upset by them at the time. Again, they wanted to be part of the gay club scene in New York. Why not go to different clubs where you're not going to experience this type of harassment? There are legitimate clubs out there. I'm not saying that these clubs that Michael J. Cohen owns aren't legitimate, but I'm sure there are many gay clubs in New York City. Many of Cohen's accusers, and by the way, I am so over clubs, aren't you? They're overcrowded, usually in small spaces, and you just choke on the smoke if you're allowed to smoke in these places. There you go. Pay $10 for a watered-down drink, whatever it is, to go sit on a couch and watch people dance. You can't hear. You get claustrophobic. I mean, if this is what you like to do, go to gay clubs, fine. More power to you. Now, many of Cohen's accusers added that having access to New York's gay bars and parties meant so much to them, especially for those who were under 21, that they were willing to put up with Cohen's advances. The 5 men who said Cohen groped them said that while they were dismayed and tried to maneuver away from him, they did not tell him to stop because they didn't want to lose their connection to gay nightlife. It wasn't just about experiencing fun nights out with their friends. It was about the sense of freedom and acceptance they felt when surrounded by other gay people. They had to explore their sexuality. In some cases, for the first time in their lives, they said, and Cohen held the keys to that world, his accusers claim. Now, Cohen declined NBC News' request for an interview. In a written response to email questions, his spokesperson, Alifair Hall, wrote, quote, Mr. Cohen absolutely denies allegations that he groped, sexually assaulted, forcibly kissed, or demanded sex from anyone, Hall added. Quote, in his years of hosting parties, Mr. Cohen has never engaged in any sexual activity that was not unmistakably consensual. He takes these allegations seriously. Kind of reminds me of what happened with Harvey Weinstein. People knew for years that Harvey Weinstein was making these advances towards people that were up for these roles in his films or films that he directed. Now, in 7 of the 9 cases, NBC News talked to witnesses, partners, or friends who said the men had told them of the encounters afterward. 3 of the 9 men provided screenshots of private conversations they had on social media with Cohen, in which Cohen repeatedly asked the men to have sex with him or asked for explicit photos. The screenshots show. None of Cohen's accusers, who were all in their late teens to mid-20s at the time of the incidents, went to the police. If this was such a serious issue, they should have gone to the police. But no. They wanted to be part, again, of the New York City gay nightlife community. Sacrifice your dignity for the LGBTQ movement, right? Nearly all said that they did not grasp the gravity of the alleged encounters until months, and in some cases years later. Oh, the anguish! Oh, the pain! The memories! Hall described Cohen, quote, as a proud gay man with no shame about his activity on social media, where he had asked adult men to send him sexual pictures, including those of their you-know-what, but he had never pressured men to have sex. Cohen, the majority owner of Motel 23, has connections to high-profile members of the LGBTQ community in New York and beyond. He opened the bar with financial support from 4 influential investors: Bryan Singer, the blockbuster filmmaker, who separately had been accused of decades of sexual misconduct, which he denies; Jeff Davis, the Hollywood writer and producer who is best known for creating the television series Criminal Minds and Teen Wolf; Anthony Watson, a banking executive and a former board member of the LGBTQ media advocacy group GLAAD; and the financier Adam Press, a former board member of the queer advocacy organization Freedom to Marry. So there you go, folks. This is at NBC News. It's a lengthy article. Thought I'd share this with you. Another queer news update story by Matt Levites. Last name again is spelled Lavietes. This came out August 25th. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes. Find me at Twitter, Cultural Confederacy at Twitter. This is the Cultural Confederacy saying peace out, stay safe, everybody. God bless this great country, and I'll catch you next time.